Hello and welcome to another member conversation with Rach. I'm here today with Amanda Walker, who is our chairperson actually of the WBN, among many other things. And according to her Twitter profile, she's a Dublin girl, a science geek, a business owner, and a wine drinker. So I will hand you over to Amanda, just to give us a bit of a background about yourself, how you ended up in Yerecoin all the way from Dublin, and a bit about your business.
I'm based at Yerecoin, which obviously is in the wheat belt. I've been here nearly 20 years since I came here. Yeah, which sounds like a long time, really, actually, when I keep in my head, doesn't really feel like it's been that long.
Well, when you think about it, you were in your 20s when you came over for your gap year. So when you look at the difference of who you were back then and what you've achieved now, it's quite significant.
So I basically, I met Tim, and then so I did keep traveling. I didn't just stay here. I did keep traveling, and then and then I went back to Ireland after I traveled for a couple of years. Went back to Ireland, and then I don't know, things had just changed. Like Ireland was a very different place. And again, I knew I didn't want to go into academia, but then looking at science options are really, when you're working as a research scientist or you're working in science, it's very specific career paths. And it's really at that point in time, like now it's very different. You've got med tech, you've got startups, you've got a very different business spin on science-based career paths. Back then you didn't have that. It was pretty much you went into academia, or you went and worked for a pharmaceutical, or you went and worked in a hospital. And I didn't really want to do either of those things or any of those things. So did a fair few job interviews. My poor dad, I always remember him driving me around to these job interviews because he was secretly praying that I would get these jobs that I was applying for. So the whole moving back to Australia was off the cards. Bless him. And then when I met Tim, he had just sold a family farm. So he was also at a bit of a crossroads, I think, in his kind of life. Wasn't really sure what he was doing, what he wanted to do. So he bought this business in Yerecoin. And I said, well, I can give you a hand for a while. So that was the plan. We were just going to do it for a little while and then just sell it and move on and maybe travel and do whatever. And then, I don't know, it was never, I suppose from the start, it was always setting the business up to sell. That was always our intention. And I think that could just early on got me thinking about, right, well, if we're, but at the time, my intention to sell was to get the hell out. Like, who the hell who would stay here? You know, I was in my 20s. Like, why would anyone move here? I suppose from that but in hindsight, looking back, that motivation was to get the business to a saleable point. So all those things that we started doing, and then I don't know, then it just grew, and then we had kids, and then we got married. Well, we got married, then we had kids, and then I don't know, our lifestyle here is very good, and it was very much. I don't know. I really enjoyed working for myself, and I really enjoy running a business. I don't always enjoy the challenges and the circumstances that puts you in, but I thought actually I could probably do this.
One of my questions was sort of, you've got Yerecoin Traders, and you started it was only a few years ago, the Farmco. So you've got Yerecoin Traders in Yerecoin and the Farmco's in Moora. And I think you've set Farmco up to sort of be the online entity.
So Farmco started off as so basically we're small, like, as in Yerecoin is a small town, and we've always recognized that our market scope is quite small here. So we kind of looked at the e-com space to go, okay, right, well, how could we just sell more of what we're already selling? And is an online channel something that we can pursue? So we kind of started off quite small with that and played around with it, and it wasn't overnight success, because I think with perfunctory products like farm supplies, there's only so much you can do in that space. You know, it's not a consumer driven product, it's very much a business need driven product. It's a very niche product, but it's done quite well. So then we had that brand and everything ready. We had that brand set up and all that stuff, and then the opportunity came for us to open a store in Moora, which again for us, Moora is a bigger center. It gives us a bigger market exposure up there, and also we're not so hamstrung by just where we are now at Yerecoin. It's very much driven by broadacre farming. Very limited in terms of other avenues in terms of diversifying our product portfolio. So moving to Moora for us was quite strategic in that respect, because we were able to diversify the business.
Yeah.
So we're not just supplying one section of the agricultural market space.
Yeah.
So we've got a whole range of client base. We've got a whole range of clients now, from market gardeners. We do a bit of horticulture supply stuff. Plus we have broadacre farmers. Plus we've got animals, livestock, cattle, that kind of thing. So we've got a really good broad range within our markets, but within our customer segments, which for us was quite important, because if you're reliant purely on one customer base, and then you've got a drought, or you've got a dry season, or you've got a frost or something like that, it was, for us, that was a big something that we recognize. Definitely, yeah.
You've kind of addressed that in Yerecoin as well, by adding in the cafe and the and I think you do some gift lines, and just trying, I guess, to open the market.
Yeah. And again, recognizing where we are, like our location at Yerecoin, but we're not on the main highway. Yeah, we're not on a main highway, and we're not in a big town. So for us, with the Yerecoin General Store, it's always been about giving people a reason to come to town. So we created, it started off, it was just a toasty maker. We would do toasties, then we got a coffee machine, and then we've got a full-on commercial kitchen. And we do, which is really good. So like we've got a full-on, we've got a liquor license now as well. So we've got that option for people to come. They can have lunch. This year we put an alfresco area in. So we've added that space where, for us, it's all about giving our community a place to come and connect and get together as well. So we do catering. So the kitchen tank has kind of morphed. We've got it's grown legs. So the Yerecoin business effectively the Yerecoin Traders General Store and Cafe is one kind of business, and then the Farmco, Farm and Rural, basically we've got a Yerecoin side to that business as well. And then we've got Moora. But we've actually just opened up another shop in Bindoon. We've just opened a store in Bindoon last week.
All right.
Yeah, so it's really interesting. Yeah, so it's actually quite interesting, because we, again, using the kind of Yerecoin base as a bit of a test model, we've added, so we've got a really nice range of, we've got a section that we call our home and giftwares, and it's kind of really nice range of curated stuff that people come to Yerecoin, they get delighted by that experience, and then they find things at our store that they don't find everywhere. So we kind of thought, I wonder if one of the things, biggest thing that we're missing for our location here is foot traffic. So we just don't have the foot traffic that you would get, anywhere else.
Yep.
So the opportunity came up for a store in Bindoon, which obviously is a bigger town, and it's got lots more foot traffic. It's right on the highway. So we thought we'd just, it seems to work here, and we test it in a bigger space. So then we've just opened up, and it's actually called the Little Country Store. So again, that's the Little Country Store brand is one we created off the back of Yerecoin. And we've had that brand online. We've been selling those products online for a couple of years now. So we've just kind of extended that into another physical space. So so as of today, we've got effectively got three different businesses. Yeah.
Wow.
Which have stemmed from our original business. So yeah.
And the beauty is that all your admin and your accounting and your policies and procedures and all that sort of stuff is transferable from one to the other. So it does make a lot of sense. So you obviously have a really good team around you. What are you doing to attract and keep them, and keeping that positive team environment going? What's happening there?
Well, basically, I tell people when they come and work for me, that's it. They never leave. Leaving's not an option. Leaving's not an option. We're very blessed. We're very, very, very lucky with the people that we have around us, Rach. And I know that's something that, just even through talking to other businesses, we've got Business Network, like it's the biggest challenge for businesses right now is staff. We strive really, really hard to look after our staff, obviously, and make sure that they are part of our business. They don't just work for us, they work with us. They're very much a part of our business as we've grown and as we continue to grow. I don't know. I don't think I do any one thing particularly differently, or have any, reason why we've got really good staff. I think it's just something that you've got to be prepared to keep working on and keep working at as a business owner. I think it's, people need your time, and you've got to invest in those relationships with your staff. And I think that you really have to go above and beyond to make sure that they know that they're valued.
Yeah.
And maybe that is something that we do quite well. Like, obviously you've got to pay them well and you've got to remunerate, you've got all those other things. But I think for me, it's about everyone on my team knows how much that we love them.
Yeah.
And that sounds really fluffy when you're talking in a business context, but
it's
for
so
me,
important.
I suppose over the last couple of years, well, we wouldn't be able to grow. Like, or I wouldn't be able to continue to grow if we didn't have. No. For me, it's all about the foundations. So the foundations have to be right for us to build and for us to grow. And if those foundations aren't right, well, it's never going to happen. So yeah, no, exactly. So that's, I suppose, So it started off with just Tim and I, and now I think we've got nearly 20 staff. So good.
Gee. Yeah. Now you've got your third store, and you wear so many different hats. So let me just. So Amanda's she's a business owner. You've been the WDC chairperson. You're a strategic planning consultant, a mentor, the chairperson for the WBN, and Amanda, just from experience, is one of the most passionate business advocates that we have in the wheat belt. We're very lucky to have her. How do you manage all these things and manage your time, and sort of what impact or how does it help your business doing all these different jobs?
That's a really interesting question, Rachel. Yeah. I don't think it's something that I don't deliberately set myself up to take on all these roles, I suppose. Like, I'm not I'll only take on a role if I believe that I can add value to that role, or I believe that it's a role, or it's a group or a cause that it aligns closely to what I believe in. So, like, you know, I've been involved with WBN for a long time, and it's something that I'm quite passionate about because I really see how it impacts our local communities. I recognize the importance that our local businesses play in our small country towns, and the more that we can do to support them, to encourage them, to facilitate them on a better path to growth, whatever it is, get behind it. Just get behind it, I think. And that's something that I am really passionate about, particularly because it's hard. Like, regional businesses are hard enough, and we've got businesses particularly, it's bloody hard, right? So let's be each other's champions, and let's get behind each other. And that's what I get from WBN. WBN for me is all about it is businesses supporting businesses, so I love that. And plus, it's great, you meet people and it's awesome. I think so my role, I was just a board member with Wheat Belt Development Commission, which was the first time I was appointed to a government board. And I found that was a really interesting one because you actually get to have conversations with the people who make those policy-based decisions. So anything to do with economic development in our region was something that we could contribute to, or, you know, you were contributing that voice. And again, that I think layered on top of my role with WBN.
Definitely.
So, and with the mentoring thing, I don't necessarily think of, I mean, it's a word that I would use, but I just think that as business owners, if we want other businesses to grow, like those of us who have been doing it for a while, just share your experiences and share your time. Just give people, you know, if somebody comes to me and says, "Oh, I've been thinking about blah blah blah," you know, what do you think is a business idea? I'm like, do it, you know, do it. Not do it as in if it's obviously got to be a good idea, but I think, and again, this comes back to community, and this comes back to what we get from within the WBN. It's that business building community, and that I feel really strongly about, because, you know, that whole rising tide,
definitely,
all ships just really, really resonates with me, because it's so true. It really is so true.
Okay, so where do you see business in the wheat belt sort of in 20 years' time?
That's a really interesting question. I've been thinking about this. I think there's a lot of, I don't know, I think the wheat belt at the moment, so I am like where we are now, I think the wheat belt is a great place to have a business and to own a business and to be in business. I think if you look at agriculture, obviously you've got to base your business in the wheat belt around the influences of agriculture, because that's our primary driver. But I do think there's a lot of potential diversification options in the pipeline aside from just agriculture at the moment.
Yeah. Yep.
Like I think obviously we're starting to see that mining influence in the wheat belt.
Yep.
We're also starting to see that tourism influence in the wheat belt. So I do think there's a lot of positive factors boosting business alongside that massive stimulus from agriculture. I think if we can leverage what we already have, I think in 20 years' time, the wheat belt will be I don't think it's going to drastically change, but I think that it definitely has got the scope to stay on that same trajectory that it is now. Like, I don't think there are small towns, and towns are getting smaller and schools are getting smaller. I mean, our little school at Yerecoin we've only got 10 kids. So the community issue and the population issue, I think, is quite real. But I think that as a business, you've got to get on board and you've got to be aware of what those changes are and prepare your business for what may or may not happen. And I think,
and the opportunities too, because
absolutely,
as you said, like
opportunities.
Tourism, I think the last couple of years has shown us that, you know, people are, and it's a momentum that you kind of got to go. I know it's really hard when you're actually in a business and it's so, everything's so busy, and but you've got to think, okay, we've got this now. We want to keep this for the, you know, get this momentum and build on it. And then start looking at how we're going to keep this going. A bit like, you know, where the South Coast and the Southwest was 20, 30 years ago in their burgeoning tourism industry. I think the wheat belt's kind of at that stage. So it'd be great to see some of these, you know, these smaller, especially like these tourism businesses, upskill and sort of build their capacity, and that would in turn can build the towns.
Honestly, I'm really excited. I mean, we've got 3 businesses in the wheat belt, and I really hope that we can continue to grow and have more, because I think I love where I live. I love the community that we're part of, and I really want to, you know, I really want that to be part of our business's future. So, I suppose I do feel quite optimistic. Yeah.
Oh, good. No, that's great insight. And so any funny stories that come to mind? Anything that's occurred in the come past through your door?
Oh, lordy. Well, 2 weeks ago, I suppose 3 weeks ago, I was driving through Bindoon and I saw a sign on a empty window, and the property, it said like this business was for lease, and I never noticed a sign in the window that said business for like premises for lease before. So I went and I came home to my husband and I said, oh, there's that property in Bindoon, that space is for lease. What do you reckon? Do you reckon we should go and have a look at it? And then I literally went and had a look at it, and then I came into the team the next day and said, oh, hey, guess what? We're opening a shop in Bindoon. And literally they just went from whoa to go. I signed the lease on the Friday, got the keys on the Monday, opened the shop on the Thursday. So it was a 5-day turnaround.
How did you fit it out?
That's been quite funny, actually. That was quite funny. When I look back at that now, I go, that's actually quite funny. Yeah. And people were sticking their head in going, oh my God, what are you guys doing? We said, oh, we're opening a shop. And they, oh, when are you opening your shop? Oh, Friday or like this week. So that was actually quite good. Yeah, it was awesome. It was such a good thing.
How did you fit it out?
Such a good thing to do
in that time.
Yeah, I just did. I literally spent, mapped it out, did a bit of planning. Like I kind of had knew in my head what I wanted, but I wanted to demonstrate to myself that I could do it really quickly, that I could, if I wanted to, I could take the opportunity, set up even in that pop-up sense, pop up a shop, make it viable, lean. So it's minimal setup cost, just to prove that I could. So I think that was quite funny.
That's awesome. That's great. So as a final wrap up, what's your go-to app for keeping on top of all your day-to-day, or an app that you couldn't live without? Doesn't have to be Business Road.
I probably don't have one. Probably one thing I can't. Well, I use we use Microsoft Teams, so probably my Teams app, because it's got my calendar. It's got all our Teams channels. So that's kind of the gateway to all things in our business.
Yep.
So probably Microsoft Teams. Which I love, by the way.
Yes.
Love it.
I'd have to agree with you, because it's just ever expanding with all the millions of little apps you can put in it. It's bloody awesome.
I know. Yeah, and it's really easy to use. So Microsoft Teams is probably my go-to.
So you
Yeah.
find yourself on the
Yeah.
road a fair bit now with the 3 businesses, like
Yeah. Yeah, I do. Yeah. Yeah. We're pretty lucky. We've got really good staff. So all of our businesses are staffed really well and
yeah,
not so dependent on me being there all the time, which was always our goal.
yes, exactly.
So I
Yeah,
try, it doesn't always work that way because if somebody's sick or if somebody's on holidays, there's always that gap to kind of fill in.
yeah.
But I try and be a bit more structured with my time and make sure that I have got set days where I'm available to the
Oh,
operations
yeah.
side of the business, and then I try and have it so that I'm set days where I've got meetings or I've got more like strategic work. So it doesn't, I struggle, that's probably one thing I do struggle with, is that balance between not being involved in everything and trying to
Yes.
step away so that you can oversee everything, as most business owners do.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. And that's what we're always aiming
Mm,
for, is that, that old adage they say, work on your business, not in it.
mm.
I
The beauty of small business is that it is owned by you and you are very much a part of that business, because that quite often is what gives that business's unique kind of selling point. But at the same time, it can sometimes be to the detriment of the business because you are so invested in it
you
and you're
are
so involved in it.
yeah.
Yeah. So, and I know from the businesses I've worked with across the wheat belt, certainly that's something that we all struggle with on a day-to-day basis. So
Yeah.
it is really hard, but I think you just got to be a bit more, I've got to be a bit more strict with myself and, try and keep your eye on that big picture, because you
Yeah,
need to be
exactly.
looking at that big picture and continually looking at where that horizon is and where you're sitting in that horizon. So
Yeah, no,
yeah, it's
I
good.
think that is a pivotal piece of advice
Mm,
for businesses, is
mm,
just reminding yourself to look at the big picture,
mm.
from time to time, and where you
Yeah,
fit and where you want to be. So, all right, well, I'd like to
yeah,
thank you
yeah, yeah.
so much for your time, Amanda. It was great. I
Thank you,
had like
Rachel. Thank
500
you.
more questions I want to ask you, but once I
I
started,
don't
I
really
couldn't
feel
stop.
like I've that's okay. I don't really feel like I've probably answered any of your questions. I feel like I've just rambled on.
No, oh, no, it's
But
great. It's
I am Irish, so I think it is a skill of
great.
mine. I can ramble on. I can do it.
Yeah.
No,
No, it
thank
was
you. Thanks for giving me
lovely.
the opportunity to have this chat. And yeah, always love talking to you. And yeah, love Team WBN and what you guys do. It's wicked.
Thank
Keep
you.
going.
Yep, and we love your input
Keep
too.
going.
So